Hello. Today we're going to be talking about the political challenges in the modern world. But before we do that, we're going to talk about globalism really quickly. So this word, globalism. Globalism is how the world is all interconnected. So everyone in the world can pretty much communicate with other cultures, other people in different parts of the world rather freely due to the internet and things like the cell phone. Okay, now that we got that out of the way, let's talk about the UN, which is what we see to the left over here. So the UN stands for the United Nations, which is why you see so many chairs down here, because there are approximately 193 countries that make up the UN in the world. So the UN is ran by the Security Council. And the Security Council is made up of roughly 15 member countries, of which there are 5 that are permanent members. And those 5 members are the US, Russia, China, France, and England. Now, these 5 permanent members have a veto power, which means if the UN wants to do something and these 5 down here don't want to, it doesn't happen because they can veto it. So that means that these 5 countries down here are very powerful in the world and have a lot of say and a lot of control in what the UN does or does not do. On to the next topic, which is weapons of mass destruction. So weapons of mass destruction details 3 specific kinds of weapons that, for the large part, are limited in use widely around the world, as in we don't want to see any of these used ever. And those weapons are nuclear, biological, and chemical weapons. Now, all these kinds of weapons kill people in usually horrible ways that are hard to deal with and have wide-ranging other effects that make them terrible, because all of these target people indiscriminately, which means it doesn't care if you're a soldier or a civilian, it'll just kill you. So we try to limit the use of these around the world, especially nuclear weapons. And we want to stop what's called nuclear proliferation, which is the spread of nuclear technology and weapons around the world. So we don't want to see many countries with nuclear weapons. We already have 9, and we don't want any more than that. Of note, though, 5 of these 9 countries are those permanent members on the UN Security Council. If nukes spread, or if nuclear technology spread to other countries, or if other countries are trying to acquire nuclear technology and or weapons, we will do what's called a sanction on them, which is basically, we are like, all right, you're trying to get this, that's bad, we don't want that, therefore we're going to say that no countries can trade with you or something like that. Or we may invade like we did in Iraq in the 1990s. All right, next topic is terrorism. And what you see to the left is a picture of 9/11. So 9/11 was a very famous case in the United States of a terrorist act launched by Al-Qaeda. Sorry if I try to squeeze that in there. So the problem with terrorism is that it belongs to no countries specifically. So a terrorist group does not identify as part of a nation generally or belong to a specific country, which makes targeting them very hard and very difficult because you don't know necessarily where they'll be. Other famous examples of terrorist actions around the world consist of the Munich Olympics, The IRA is a very famous terrorist organization in Ireland. It stands for the Irish Republican Army, and they largely launched actions against England and the British government. ISIS is one that's more recent and one that is also on the decline around the world, but they have famously posted their ideas on the internet, which, due to our globalized world, which means everyone has access and can see everything around the world, means they can tell people, say in the United States, how to commit terrorist acts. And they're essentially franchising terrorism as long as you give ISIS the credit for it. The last one is ethnic conflicts and civil wars. So an ethnic conflict is essentially between two ethnicities, say a religion, cultures, that kind of a thing. So that brings us back to Ireland again, with the conflict between the Protestant North and Catholic South. So ideally, Ireland wants everyone to be part of Ireland, whereas the North wants to be part of the UK. In the old Yugoslavia, you had, after the Soviet Union fell, you had Serbia come out of it, along with three other countries that are Croatia, Slovenia, and Bosnia. Now, the Serbs wanted to unite all of Yugoslavia again, make it one big country, because Serbia was rather economically poor and was not doing well with money. But anyways, when they went to Bosnia, they didn't want all the Muslims there. And so they did what's called a genocide, which is the killing of an ethnicity. And they try to get rid of as many Muslims in Bosnia as possible. Another famous example of a genocide or ethnic conflict, or even civil war, is Rwanda. Rwanda is what you see over here in this picture to the left. You see what's probably a Tutsi male. So you got the Hutus and Tutsis. And basically, the Hutus did not like the Tutsis. And the Tutsis were in control of Rwanda. Well, one day the Hutus shot the president of Rwanda out of the sky and then launched a genocide against the Tutsis, where they used machetes, which is what all these marks are probably on this unfortunate person's head, to kill over 500,000 Tutsis. And that brings us back to the goal of the UN, which is to try to solve all these kind of political challenges around the world. And that is our lesson for the day.